Three-way switches are so mysterious. How do you wire a three-way switch? How does it know which end of the hallway I'm at? How do they work? We're only going to dive into that a little bit insofar as what it takes to replace a defective one. But really, three-way switches are not all that mysterious. I think once someone showed me a basic diagram of how the inside of one worked, it made perfect sense. And I'm pretty sure it's on page 58 of this book. Might be a different page number, but it's definitely in this Wiring Simplified book. And if you want to learn more about that, you can always have it handy in your kit in case it comes up and you haven't done one in a while. I keep it handy as a reference regardless. We're going to swap a three-way switch. We need some basic tools, including indicators for power and voltage to make sure that it's off and we don't get lit up. I've got some basic electrical tools, and I've even got a power screwdriver to help pull the screws so I don't sit there for 10 minutes doing it like this. The first step is to make sure the power is off, and to do that I'm going to pull the decorative cover so that I can get my volt tick in there and make sure it's okay. Now, if you automatically already know exactly which breaker operates your three-way switch, you can be one step ahead right now by getting your breaker turned off before you even pull off the cover. Let's set the cover and screws aside. Now with the volt tick, I can see that it's got power right there. So basically what we need to do is make sure the power is off, and we're going to do it right now. There we go. We should be safe, and that allows us to move forward. I'm just going to pull these two screws that hold it in place. Now, although I'll use a power tool to pull the screws out, when you reinsert the tools, you definitely have to be careful. I don't screw them all the way in tight. When you reinsert the screws, I should say. I don't insert them all the way tight with the power screwdriver. The last few turns I'll do by hand to make sure I don't strip out the hole they screw into or do any damage to the switch itself. With the switch off, we can kind of see what's going on back in here. Three-way switches have one additional wire. And basically, to replace this switch, you need to make sure that all the wires get transferred from the old switch to the new switch in the exact same locations. This screw layout is going to be the same for any three-way switch commonly available in any hardware store, and that will allow you, really there wouldn't be anything wrong with switching them one wire at a time. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, so don't be afraid to do it that way. The other way, obviously, you might draw a little diagram of which wire. You might use tape and labels if that makes it easier, but a picture even with your camera phone or something like that would take care of it as well. I'm going to start by releasing the two neutral, or the two hots and the shared. Get those off real quick. Maybe I will see if it'll get any looser, which I don't think it will. Yeah, there's that one. We'll get this ground off while I'm on this side of the switch. That ground is okay. Now as I'm taking these wires off, I'm looking for little ridges where it might have developed a weakness from when it was originally stripped, and making sure we're not going to have a potential breakage issue after the repair. These two wires were on the right side of the switch, so I'm going to leave them on that side of the box. This is an easy swap you can do yourself versus calling an electrician. There's plenty of times where you might need an actual electrician, and I wouldn't try and stop you from calling one if you need one. Even if a task like this seems daunting to you, don't risk it. If you're nervous about electricity, there's no real need to have to deal with it. You can always call someone, a professional, to help get it right for you and with you. Now you'll notice that a three-way switch has two gold and a black. Like I said, it is the same regardless of the three-way switch you buy. And you basically just want to reinstall the new one with the wires at the same locations of the previous one. You should be good to go. That installation would look like this. We'll try and get those wires. They're curled clockwise, which is the proper way to do it. You'll notice there's no exposed wire above the curl. That reduces the risk of any sort of short. And we'll get this ground guy tight here. Good. Move over to this side. Once again, the wire's still going clockwise. Got our last wire going into place now. Like I said, there isn't too much exposed bare wire above the screws or around the screws. Get the wires pushed back in. Get the screws back started. I'll start them by hand to avoid stripping them. If it seems like I'm pushing excessively hard, you'd be surprised what a properly wired switch can handle. There's no real risk of breaking the wires. And sometimes it takes a little bit of force to get the excess wire back into the box. So don't be afraid to show it some love that way. Okay. Good placement. We use the screwdriver to get them close and then finish them by hand. Remember, the key to a solid, simple, easy three-way switch replacement is to be sure you get the wires back in the same locations. It can be a challenge to track it down if somehow a wire got misplaced, and there's some confusion about that. So make sure you get them back in the right place. Now you would want to go turn your power back on, like that. And there it is. Check it for operation, make sure it's working properly from both points of the three-point layout. Or actually, a three-way switch handles two locations, so you just want to check both locations of the three-way switch. Make sure everything's working properly. Get your cover back on, and you should be good to go. We're gonna get it. There we go. Now, like I said, there's no reason to be afraid of them. You can get that taken care of, get that job knocked off your list. Now, hopefully with what we've talked about here, you really feel prepared to go handle that three-way switch. Now go get it taken care of.